Alright guys, Papa Pepper here once again. This will be day 2 of 50 Days to Understanding the End Times More Accurately. It's called Day 2, the Tribulation. There is a common belief within much of Christianity that a 7-year tribulation period will eventually come upon the entire world. This time period is commonly referred to as the Tribulation and is believed to be a time when God's wrath is poured out upon the earth. If you've ever opened a Bible and attempted to learn more about the tribulation, you may have found that God never refers to the tribulation. This is an immediate obstacle that one must get around if one is going to gain understanding on this subject from what God reveals in the Bible. The closest thing the Bible ever actually says is recorded in the following verse. Quote, "Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken." End quote. Matthew chapter 24, verse 29. This is the only occurrence of the phrase, the tribulation, in the entire Bible. If you have an exhaustive concordance, look up tribulation and see how many times the word the appears immediately prior to it, thus appearing as the tribulation within the pages of Scripture. You will quickly see that of all 22 times the word tribulation appears, only once is it ever found directly after the word the. In the one place that we do find the tribulation in the Bible, a specific phrase immediately follows it, of those days. Obviously, this means that the tribulation mentioned is just one specific time of tribulation, of which there are others. There could not be a tribulation of those days unless there were also tribulations of other days. This is why we see the word tribulation used so often in so many other places in the Bible. Interestingly, within the pages of the New Testament, tribulation is used most often in association with believers. This is peculiar because many believe in a pre-tribulational rapture. Their belief is that the true believers will be raptured or taken from earth prior to the tribulation. Though the word tribulation appears 19 times in the King James Version New Testament, there are actually 2 words in the original Greek which are translated as tribulation. The more common is thlipsis, which is used 45 times, and the lesser used is phlibo, appearing 10 times. Thlipsis means distress, trouble, or oppression, and phlibo means to press upon or cause trouble, to be troubled, persecuted, or pressed. Of the 45 times that thlipsis is used, 35 times it pertains only to believers, which is 77.777 repeating percent of the time. Of the 10 times that phlibo is used, 7 times it pertains only to believers, 70% of the time. This means that based on the New Testament, tribulation is mostly a Christian experience. Please see the appendix for an exhaustive listing of every occurrence of these words. Obviously, Scripture clearly teaches that believers will experience tribulation upon the earth. In regard to the tribulation, though, the Bible is silent. Since God never uses that phrase the way that man does, God does not define it or specifically tell us anything about it. This is problematic. We must be wary when men choose to use unbiblical phrases. Since God neither uses nor defines these phrases, man can then choose to define them as he sees fit, perhaps even to fit his theology or agenda. Point number 1. God never mentions the tribulation in the way that many have grown accustomed to. Point number 2. God therefore does not define this phrase. Point number 3. Since God neither uses nor defines the tribulation, we are unable to gain any insight by simply looking up the tribulation in the Bible. That concludes day 2. Remember, I'm just going to read a short section each day. Remember those points. Test them out, see if they're accurate, and we'll move on to day 2 tomorrow, or day 3 the next day tomorrow. Papa out.